It's the 4th of July, 2018. I'm going out onto the patio with my wife to watch the fireworks in the neighborhood. Our neighborhood here, they kind of go crazy during the 4th. It was actually kind of cool to have a neighborhood that into it. But we had just stepped out onto the patio and a low flying, it wasn't exactly an orb, but it was orb-ish. The top part of this light anomaly was kind of curved, and the bottom portion of it kind of went to a point. The whole exterior of this light anomaly was glowing, kind of like a warm yellow orangish kind of color, with the center being completely lit in the same color tone. But there was space in between that center light and the exterior. It was completely transparent. This orb was about 10 feet off the ground, and it was traveling at about like 30 miles an hour at a 45-degree angle out towards Candy Mountain. This is an overview of Candy Mountain through Google Maps. As you can see, there's not much around the area. However, there are a few hiking trails and a couple of vineyards that kind of surround the base of Candy Mountain. It seemed to accelerate as it went forward. And as I was watching this, I was trying to figure out what in the hell it was. It wasn't a Chinese lantern. There was no movement in it other than this straight line that it was doing. And we had a crosswind that day, so it just what I was looking at didn't make sense for what I thought it could possibly be. In the process of staring at this, out of the corner of my left eye, at about 100 to 150 yards out, about 200 feet off the ground, a silver object that was very clear. I mean, it's the first daytime sighting that I have ever witnessed. I've seen some strange crap in the sky before, ever since age 13. But this one here was the first one where there was no doubt in my mind that what I was seeing was not something that was from here. I don't really know what it was. I want to make that very clear. But the way this thing maneuvered, it would be very difficult for it to be a drone. If anyone out there has ever flown a drone, they're a little difficult to maneuver and do it in a really, really smooth motion. They tend to wobble around a lot and stuff like that. And anyway, the way this thing was changing elevations and stuff, it's just almost impossible for it to be a drone. But this object showed up about 150 to 200 yards out, and it was moving rather slow in a straight line. It had these half like round circles underneath it, where like the back half was these red bubbles and the front were green bubbles. And they didn't appear to be like regular lights, because they were well lit in the middle of the day like this, and they almost appeared to be kind of like liquid filled. They were moving around a little bit. And the object walls, they were very shiny, metallic, straight, almost angular. Almost kind of looked like a horseshoe kind of like shape when it turned. But from the side, it looked long and kind of flat, and you could tell that there was like a little bit of roundness towards the bottom where these lights were. But it came forward, and then the front end raised up. So it came forward, it raised up, and then did this twisting motion at the same time as the back coming up. Then it went forward, went up again, and then it twisted and then looked back almost in my direction. And it had a blinking light on top, a blinking red. And I remember sitting there looking at that and just, again, trying to rationalize what I was seeing, because, we get a lot of fires here in this area. And I immediately was thinking, well, it's got to be a drone. But the way it was maneuvering was unusual for a drone. Plus, it had no landing gear, it had no propellers, there was no sound, and just the smooth and the ease at which this thing kind of maneuvered set off some, warning flags with me that this is possibly something that just isn't isn't right, And anyway, this thing tilted and then moved forward, but that was the only sign that it was using something to kind of like propel it. Up until that point, it was transitioning and doing weird stuff. And, I had an opportunity to see it from the top. There was no holes or anything else. It was a complete and solid metallic kind of horseshoe shaped, UFO. And I have a hard time saying UFO. Is I have a hard time picturing something from far away coming this far and not really making itself known on a bigger stage. But I still can't explain it, But this object came, and then it moved forward and disappeared again behind my neighbor's home. And I stayed outside watching the fireworks. It started to get darker out. Then all of a sudden, a red orb appeared over Candy Mountain. And again, it was doing some weird stuff, blinking in and out and showing up in different areas and just kind of going up and down the mountain. And some of the video I wish I would have captured with a different phone, but it just didn't come through clearly enough for people to see. But I did get the chance to take some video of this orb with a white light appearing in the same area where this initial orb kind of went to. The orb can be seen off to the left of the mountain. It's the blinking light. It stayed in this position for quite some time. Eventually ended up just kind of blinking out. No movement, just stayed there and hovered. If you look closely at the blinking light, occasionally you will see hints of green and red colors. The red, again, is the blinking red light on top of the object. The green, I believe, is towards the base. But it just sits there and flickers for quite some time. It doesn't appear to move, at least from the angle that I'm viewing it at. I still, looking back on it, I feel like that orb or whatever that light anomaly was initially was a diversionary tactic. I mean, it felt like it. Hey, look at this, don't look at me. And the whole experience was pretty bizarre. But, the light anomaly over by Candy Mountain, some of the footage that I'm going to show you here shortly, will show this light orb. And again, it appears in different areas and stuff like that, but I wasn't able to capture it that well. It was just getting too dark, and it was too far out. But shortly after this orb left, a high-speed helicopter, and I'm calling it a high-speed helicopter because of its shape. This helicopter is similar in design to what I saw buzzing my home. Again, the color scheme was definitely different, but it had retractable landing gear like this. And from what I remember, I couldn't see a rear propeller. Came from the airport over in Pasco, Washington at a high rate of speed. Came into my neighborhood and buzzed my home right near where this initial first sighting was, which I thought was interesting. And it was flying low, so it was like, again, maybe 200 yards off the deck. with fireworks going on, which again I thought was very odd that somebody would take a chance like that. But I came into the neighborhood, did a lap around, and then flew back towards the airport. I couldn't see any markings on the helicopter. It appeared to be um, almost like a sheriff's department type of like helicopter because it had like a stripe on the side, but the other colors that were on it were dark, and I couldn't see a tail number. I just know what's over in that area and the direction that this helicopter came from, and it's just an airport. So the big question is, what was this light anomaly? What did I see off to my left when I walked out on my patio? Why did a helicopter come out to the same exact location where I witnessed this object? And there's a lot of questions here, and so far, not a lot of answers. It could be a combination of things, but all of it kind of lining up when you put everything side by side. It's just a strange event, one of many that I've had throughout my lifetime that continues to kind of bubble up at weird times in my life. I think this is somewhere around like the 10th sighting I've had since I was 13. I reported this incident to MUFON. And again, I'm not sure if any of you have ever kind of worked with that organization, but they're out there and their intent is to kind of record and analyze some of this stuff that's being seen by people like me or even people like you. Um, on my end, though, I was a little disappointed in the lack of follow up and just the lack of communication after the event. I just think they get so much, so many different like reportings throughout the year that they probably just don't even have the resources to do a thorough, in-depth investigation. So that leads me to where I'm at right now. I've been told in the past that I could be what's called a sensitive, somebody that can, for whatever reason, have multiple sightings throughout their lifetime. I've always kind of wondered what this experience is and how I can better understand it. And I think I'm at a crossroads where I really want to devote some of my own free time into discovering what this stuff is. So in the future, keep an eye out for more videos from me. I plan on picking up more equipment and actually going out to not only the sites where I've witnessed stuff, but to sites in the area where others have witnessed stuff. And hopefully try and catch something that shows up and possibly even try and communicate with whatever it is that I'm seeing. All right, stay tuned. Subscribe, say hello, comment. All right, thank you. Thanks for watching.